You're listening to Spring River Chronicle. Audio on the go.
First National Banking Company. Get checking that pays with Super Plus Checking at FNBC.
Cars Show Cruises On by Lauren Siebert. The city of Hardy held their 10th annual Car Cruise and Spring River Car Show June 1st and 2, throughout downtown Hardy and Loughburg Park. According to Hardy Mayor Nina Thornton, the Spring River Car Show is in its 16th year. However, she and Audrey Campbell came up with the idea for the car cruise 10 years ago while visiting another city. The car cruise is an event that we wanted to start because we had gone to Branson and saw what a big success it was there, said Mayor Thornton. We didn't want to leave Hardy or take our money out of town, so Audrey and I thought, well, why we don't have a car cruise here? So, we contacted the Spring River Car Club and they said they would love to start a cruise. That was 10 years ago. Mayor Thornton explained that the first cruise was comprised of only 3 cars, however they didn't let that discourage them. We only had 3 cars the first year, but the second we had 15, said Mayor Thornton. It was getting better every year. Although the car cruise was growing in popularity, Campbell and Mayor Thornton knew it could become even better. It wasn't growing at a fast rate of speed like we had wanted, so we proposed to the car club that we feed them so it would become a bigger event, said Mayor Thornton. They were in agreement with it. 5 years ago was our first year to have a cookout and it was huge. It started to grow and we had a great time. This was our 10th year for the cruise and our 5th year to have food. Mayor Thornton explained the addition of feeding the masses seemed to make all the difference. It was huge. We had probably 100 cars parked on the main street and they cruised until 9 p.m., said Mayor Thornton. We would set up on a different place on the main street and one year we even held up signs to judge the cars as they came by. Campbell noted that feeding the masses, so to speak, truly made all the difference for the local economy in Hardy during the cruise. One thing the car cruise did, before we started feeding them, was that they cruised different places, meaning they didn't always cruise through Hardy, or if they did that is all they would do, they wouldn't stop at any of the businesses, said Campbell. So once we started feeding them they made Hardy their destination. Mayor Thornton added that during the cruise, citizens and cruisers alike would walk up and down Main Street to look at the cars and browse the stores. It's a big plus and a lot of businesses came to me afterward and had said how fantastic it was that they were open and they were busy, said Mayor Thornton. People still visit the stores and people came in. On Friday, when they did the cruise they'd go through the stores, and people would walk down from their houses to see the cars. Another interesting part of the weekend's festivities was that locals that would see the cruise and go home to get their cars to cruise as well. You didn't have to be part of the car club to be in the cruise. If your car needed a paint job, no one cared, just cruise, said Mayor Thornton. Mayor Thornton would like to thank all those who supported or participated in the car cruise or the Spring River Car Show. We're glad for their support. They always support it and people in the town walk down, and everyone drives down and walks and looks at the cars, said Mayor Thornton. The car show itself, that was on Saturday and has always been a big deal, drawing a big crowd every year. The car cruise has complemented it.
You're listening to Spring River Chronicle. Audio on the go.
First National Banking Company. Get checking that pays with Super Plus Checking at FNBC.
Minister acquitted. Brian Nix Hall was acquitted of DWI and careless and prohibited driving charges. Hardy United Methodist Church Reverend Brian Nix Hall was acquitted of DWI and careless and prohibited driving charges May 25 by Special Judge Van Gerhart of Mountain Home at the Sharp County Courthouse in Ash Flat. The acquittal stems from Hall's January 10 DWI arrest in Highland, where he was stopped by Highland Police Officer Brian Buchanan. Video evidence from Highland Police Officer Brian Buchanan's dash camera was displayed in court on a newly implemented big-screen television along with sworn testimonies. According to Judge Gerhardt, the camera footage and testimonies led to rule for acquittal. According to Hall, on the night of his arrest, he had been at the Hardy United Methodist Church working until shortly after 9 p.m., and was headed home when Officer Buchanan stopped him. Hall testified that he has had declining health for the past year, due to an autoimmune disease, which attacks his central nervous system, and causes symptoms such as vertigo and tremors, which sometimes give the appearance of intoxication, and he believes was the catalyst that led to the initial misunderstanding between Officer Buchanan and himself. Within Officer Buchanan's report, it was noted that he had seen Hall swerving all over the road, driving left of center and driving recklessly. However, as Judge Gerhardt viewed the video, he stated that although he did not doubt Officer Buchanan's assessment of the situation, he did not find sufficient evidence to convict Hall for DWI or careless and prohibited driving. Hall was convicted with refusal to submit and driving left of center. Officer Buchanan stated in his initial testimony that he had followed Hall's vehicle for a short distance before turning on the dashcam. When cross-examined by Special Prosecutor H.G. Foster of Conway, the officer stated that he had switched on the camera after approximately 5 to 10 seconds of observation. Officer Buchanan's report indicated that Hall was uncooperative and had grabbed his arm while walking to the police car, as he changed his times about when he had stopped drinking. Judge Gerhardt pointed out that Hall could be heard on the video saying that he was willing to cooperate. After much deliberation, Judge Gerhardt said that he had to side with the prosecution on the charge of driving left of center and the refusal to submit to a breathalyzer. Judge Gerhardt noted that although he did not see it on the video, he did not doubt the officer's word that Hall gone left of center at some point prior to the video being activated. As the prosecution came to rest, Hall's attorney Gray Dillinger made a motion for an acquittal of the DWI charge. Judge Gerhardt stated he felt it was imperative to give a detailed explanation as to why he would rule the way he did. "I think it's important I articulate the reasons why the state has failed on the burden of proof," said Judge Gerhardt. "With regard to the other charges, I do not think the state has failed, but in the last 18 years I've heard hundreds of DWI cases, and have tried to develop several different things that I look to and the importance of those things." Judge Gerhardt went on to say that a portion of his determination was based on the 21 requirements of the National Transportation and Highway Safety Board. "I didn't see it on the video, but I believe the officer when he says that the defendant may have driven into the turn lane and hit the white line on the right side," said Gerhardt. "The court understands that people do that, especially when they are driving at night and especially when it's raining." As well as reviewing Hall's driving, Judge Gerhardt noted he also looked at balance, attitude and speech. When he got out, he didn't stumble, didn't sway, didn't almost fall down. "In fact, I thought he did as good as anyone could, and when he walked back I didn't see him sway or stumble," said Gerhardt. "I did see him put his hand on the officer's shoulder, but it didn't seem like it was for balance. It seemed to be just what you do when you're trying to be friendly." Judge Gerhardt then addressed Hall's refusal to submit to a breathalyzer test. A refusal, as Mr. Foster knows, can be used as evidence of intoxication, and that is, when someone doesn't agree to take the test, it can be evidence of their culpability. In cases when we have refusals, what I look to is their rational reasons, such as are they refusing because they couldn't pass the test, Judge Gerhardt said. This defendant said he wanted an attorney, which isn't reason why you don't take the test, but at least it's a reason. Later he says, "I'll take that test, and frankly I certainly don't like to go back and second-guess what officers do, because they are in a difficult situation and they have a difficult job to do at all times." According to the arrest report, when Hall agreed to take the breathalyzer test, Officer Buchanan refused to administer the test, claiming Hall has already refused and it was too late. Judge Gerhardt drew to a close by stating, "I think the lesson to be learned is, if you have somebody that says I'm not going to take the test and then 10 minutes later says whoops, I'll take that test. Have them take it, for crying out loud, so that we're not put in this position. I don't care if you have to wait another 20 minutes or not, always have them take the test. It's a good idea. It doesn't put us in a position. We would know here today whether or not the defendant was .08 or above, and not have to go through this 2-hour trial. I put all that together and I am unable to find beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant would be guilty of DWI. I therefore grant the motion. After a short break from the rulings of the first portion of the hearing, Judge Gerhardt heard arguments from Special Prosecutor H.G. Foster, as well as Hall's legal representation included lawyers Larry Kissy of Ash Flat and Gray Dellinger of Melbourne concerning the driving left of center and refusal to submit to a breathalyzer. Rev. Hall has 30 days to appeal the verdicts of the second hearing.
You're listening to Spring River Chronicle. Audio on the go.
First National Banking Company. Get checking that pays with Super Plus Checking at FNBC.
Rural Departments Rally for Help. By Lauren Siebert. Fire departments seek volunteer members to help protect the community. According to the National Fire Protection Association, in 2010, there were approximately 1,103,300 firefighters in the United States. Of those, 335,150, 30% were career, and 768,150, 70% were volunteers. In recent years, the percentage of volunteer firefighters has dwindled throughout rural departments, making it increasingly difficult for departments to ensure their districts are protected. All volunteer fire departments struggle to get members, especially younger members, said Wilford Assistant Fire Chief Wayne Lester. Most of the members on a fire department are the older ones, because they either have the time or make the time. Most of the volunteer firefighters, 95%, are in departments that protect fewer than 25,000 people, and more than half are located in small, rural departments protecting fewer than 2,500 people. All rural fire departments need enough people that they can change out during the fight if they have to, said Lester. We have gone to brush fires with just 3 to 4 people there, and when you fight a fire for several hours we're worn out, but you can't just stop fighting the fire. Lester explained that most of our rural departments seem to have close to 10 firefighters on their departments. However, not all 10 are able to respond to a fire each time. When dispatch receives a call, they will page the fire department. Everyone on the department has a pager or radio to be notified, but most of the time during the day there are only 2 or 3 firefighters in town, said Lester. In some cases, if one of them has to go do something, we may only have 1 or 2. Depending on the fire type, it is best to have a minimum of 4 firefighters present to extinguish a fire. This is not always the case for rural departments. If there is a house fire, and someone is trapped inside, one firefighter cannot go in alone. There has to be at least 2 because of safety issues. They must enter in teams, said Lester. 2 enter with tanks, and if they run out of oxygen preferably there are 2 more standing by, to enter and take over. Other obstacles rural fire departments are facing is that even though there are other departments nearby, relatively speaking, which are able to aid during a fire, many of them are experiencing the same shortages in volunteers. A lot of times even when you call in another fire department they will show up with just a truck for backup water, said Lester. Sometimes you get lucky, and they show up with a truck and a couple of people and you have help. Other times, during the day especially, because people are at work, they will show up and there will be a truck in them, and between the 2 of you there may be enough people to fight a fire. Lester explained that firefighters don't just extinguish fires, they perform a multitude of services to the communities. We do everything from putting out fires to directing traffic. We will respond to EMS emergency medical services calls, lift assist and first responder calls, said Lester. On any given day a firefighter could run into all kinds of scenarios. For example, someone who was injured in an accident, or maybe they just fell down, or have had a major heart attack or a stroke. We are not limited to fires, it could be anything. Lester would like to encourage anyone who is interested in volunteering to contact their local fire department. I would like to see all of the communities support their local fire departments, and volunteering and trying to help in any way they can, said Lester. All of the fire departments will welcome just about any help, and, as far as members joining, it would really be a major help. The criteria are they must be at least 18 to join, cannot have a felony, and have a valid driver's license.
Thanks for listening to Spring River Chronicle Audio on the Go. Be sure to subscribe to the paper and check us out online at myspringriver.com.